Hi, welcome to Edward Box Guitar Tuition. So my classic album inspection today is When Dream and Day Unite by Dream Theater. This is their debut album, released March the 6th, 1989, so it's 35 years old today. So this is an interesting album in that, like, I suppose in a way, it's kind of like other debut albums, a bit like Rock-A-Roller by Judas Priest or Saxon's debut, where it doesn't sound quite like the band we know. Principally, this is due to two factors: the production and mix, and they have a different vocalist, a guy called Charlie Dominici. However, I think stylistically it's got plenty of elements, or virtually all the elements that the band would use later on. So the band signed a deal, they work on Majesty, the changing out of Dream Theater, they signed a deal with Mechanic Records, which was a subsidiary of MCA. So MCA is the Music Cemetery of America. They're terrible with rock, metal, hard rock generally, and I suppose them being on a subsidiary was even worse for them. Apparently they reneged on their financial commitments to the band, and the band, when this album came out, and they did have some really great reviews, 5-star review in Kerrang. They actually only did like about 5 dates around the New York area. They fired Charlie Dominici after 4 dates because it was clear he wasn't working in the live situation. We'll come to his singing in a bit. And then they were asked to support Marillion, so Dominici came back for 1 gig. That must have been strange. But principally, first time I heard this, I'd never heard of them. It just came and went and got buried. But I was in the back of a van on the way to a gig with a band who was in at the time, a band called Accelerator, and it was the drummer's 21st birthday, actually. No, his 18th birthday. His dad drove us down with the band, and I was sat in the back with the other guitarist who'd just been in a band a few months. We'd had a bit of Rust in Peace on by Megadeth, and I'd kind of heard the Tornado of Soul solo. I was like, Jesus Christ. And then, I don't know if it was the drummer's brother or the drummer himself put on Dream Theater, and we're like, who's this? Like, this is Dream Theater. And we're like, oh right, bloody hell. The other guitarist went out and bought the album straight away, and I think I picked up a second-hand copy. No, I didn't. I had a cassette, so I had heard this album before Images and Words. So that's my sort of introduction to it. It was literally 2 years after it came out, and 2 years after it got a 5-star review by Derek Oliver in Kerrang, and Derek Oliver would actually sign them to Atco with James LeBray as the singer, and the rest is history. But, imagine doing an album and then the plug gets kind of pulled, and it could easily go the wrong way. So this album was actually recorded in 10 days, and then the mixing was done. It was all done in 3 weeks. So it was produced, engineered, mixed, I think, by Terry Date. I'm just going to check that Terry Date does producing, engineering, mixing. So it's probably where some of the problems lies. Let's just go through the tracks. It opens with a kind of a first classic by Dream Theater, A Fortune in Lies. This was a staple of their sets early on. I saw them on the Images and Words tour at the Marquee, the gig it was recorded back in '93 on the mini album. I think they probably open with A Fortune in Lies. It's really good. What you notice on this is they've got kind of thrashy rhythms. It goes into kind of almost a blast beat, double time, a bit like Battery. But you can hear the influence of sort of stuff like Malmsteen, and people kind of mention Queensryche in relation to Dream Theater at this time, and certainly, with some of the high singing and stuff, but lyrically and everything is different. So this track's a great track. It's a really good song. It's 5 minutes and 12. It's relatively short by Dream Theater standards, and it benefits from that. I always like it when Dream Theater put in some shorter songs. And I think one of the reasons I kind of drawn away from the songs it's almost become formulaic that they do really long songs, but it's just my opinion. Next up is Status Seeker. This is written by Petrucci and Charlie Dominici. This is 4 minutes 17. This must be one of the shortest Dream Theater songs ever. Someone can maybe do an analysis of that. I like this track. It's good. It's got a really good chorus. Change of opinion. Nice solo by Petrucci with some nice slurring. Petrucci's style's slightly different on this album. You can kind of hear the Malmsteen influence more. His vibrato's more intense. He's using the whammy for kind of slurring. And you can hear he's kind of in that sort of, peak of 80s styling, Shrapnel style to a certain extent. He just sweet picked arpeggio sequences. By the time he gets to the Images and Words, he's calmed down his vibrato. He's kind of got other elements in his playing, and of course he'll become. When you hear this, you can hear he's a very good player. You wouldn't know that he's going to become wasn't necessarily one of the greats. He did develop himself. Playing wise, the Yitchy Jam's up next. This is another important track for Dream Theater. This is an instrumental, again, something the band are renowned for. I probably prefer Automania off Awake, but this is definitely the second best. Whenever they've done other instrumentals, kind of like Iron Maiden, when Iron Maiden did Genghis Khan and Transylvania, they just did two great instrumentals, and when they did Lost for Words later on, it just wasn't as good. And I've always felt like Dream Theater's instrumentals, I know there's Stream of Consciousness and there's a couple other ones, but it's never quite come up to these. And again, this has got a nice kind of neoclassical kind of really good. It's really well arranged. It's an exciting piece of music. You've got good kind of changes of tempo. This is written by the band, basically, minus Charlie Dominici. Next is The Killing Hand. John Petrucci writes the lyrics for this. Actually, sorry, I should just note that all the music is actually written by the band. It's credited to the band, except where noted, and then the lyrics are credited separately. So this is actually split into 5 parts. I'm not sure, it's not on the CD there, but you've got The Observance, Ancient Renewal, The Stray Seed, Thorns and Exodus. This is a really good track. Again, they played this on the night I saw them. This was part of their set. Again, it's epic, 8 minutes 41, but it's not like, it's not 12 minutes, 13 minutes, extending that time. It's a really good track. This is a really strong side one, it's got to be said. 3 of the tracks on there were played and are probably pulled out by the band sporadically. They definitely. Next track, side 2, opened with was Light Fuse and Get Away. This is the weakest track on the album for me. The lyrics are by Kevin Moore. 7:23 this is. Listening to the album in the last few days, it's okay. I mean, I'm kind of not that fussed with it. It just doesn't quite have something to grab onto for me. The next track actually is a deep cut for me, and it may be my favourite on the album. Is Afterlife. I really like the vocal melodies on this. John Petrucci. Up the open string. He actually does a pretty scorching solo on this, but you can really hear the intensity of his vibrato. He does, he's kind of overcooking it more on this. Like I said, it will calm down. I like this. He's got a nice harmonised arpeggio passage after the main solo with Kevin Moore. Should mention, Kevin Moore, my favourite Dream Theater keyboard player. Obviously Derek Sherinian and Jordan Rudess, amazing players, but Kevin Moore had something unique for me. But I really like Afterlife. Then you've got the ones who helped to set the sun, lyrics by Petrucci. I don't know who these people are, but thank you. 8 minutes and 5. It's good. 6 out of 10. This track, it's them. They're finding their feet here with the longer tracks, and they'll get much better on this on the next 2 albums. And then the album finishes with Only a Matter of Time, which is good. You can really hear the Kansas influence on this, a bit like Song for America. There's a cool groove and nice keyboard part. So the album's like 51 minutes and 25. I have to imagine that's the shortest for a Dream Theater album. So it's quite interesting hearing this. So what's right about this album? What's wrong about this album? Well, the things that are right are you can hear that Dream Theater, although they're going to develop, they actually arrive, are formed in a lot of ways. It's got flinging drums, you've got a top instrumental. It's clear all the band can play, and you can hear the sort of progressive influence of, Fate's Warning, metal of Metallica, Iron Maiden. You can, hear like a bit of Marillion, a little bit of Genesis, yes. Obviously Rush, Kansas, I think. So all that's good. The principal issue here are 2 things. Is the singer, Charlie Dominici. So Charlie Dominici's actually got, the vocal mix is actually good on this, and Charlie Dominici's got a good voice, but it's just the frequency of his vocals is a bit too high, I think. So sometimes people, if you're not a musician, it's easy to confuse singing high with the frequency of the vocals. I've sung along with this in the car badly. But Charlie Dominici doesn't really hit any notes different to someone like, say, Ronnie James Dio or Rob Halford or those type of Bruce Dickinson would sing. But like Geddy Lee has a high frequency to his voice. Different to Geddy Lee, he's actually got quite a lot of balls, and he's kind of got that Robert Plant classic rock thing. And that's one of the problems with Dominique. There's no classic rock DNA within his singing. You can hear the band would probably love a singer like Steve Walsh. Steve Walsh has got that high purity, but he's got a bit more fucking air that comes out. So, it's unfair to say Dominique is the weak link on this, because it kind of makes the album interesting, but he was actually quite a bit older than they were. I think when he did this album, he was already well into his 30s, so there was, you can see why they went for him. It's incredibly hard to find singers who can sing this kind of material, and it's just hard to find singers full stop. Guitarists are tenor bloody penny of a certain standard, bass players, well, if you can't get a bass player, there'll be a guitarist who wants to be in a band and they'll play bass. That happens. Drummers, well, they've always got too many bands. Keyboard players, yeah, it's tricky. But singers, just, there's any number of people who want to sing, and then maybe a good vocalist, but people can actually sing, it's really hard. But anyway, so that's my take on Dominique. The main problem is the mix. So Terry Day, if you look at his track record prior to this, he really made his reputation with Pantera. But you can see where he's probably blasted through this in 3 weeks, recording, mixing. They haven't used an outside mixer, he's mixed it. I actually like his work on Fifth Angel, on the demos that they turn the demos into the album. And I think Terry Day, on a budget, does a really good job on that album. But this, the problem is all the frequencies. It's got top end, it's got bottom, it's got middle, but it's all the wrong sort of aspects of those to me. I'm not a recording engineer, but what I can tell you is when you've got a certain frequency was in something, it's easy to add something than to take it out. So if I record a lead guitar solo with horrible top end, when it comes to the mix, we can wean that out, but we'll never be able to wean it out the way if I'd recorded it without enough top end and we wanted to put it on. That's what I'm saying. And the drums are pretty thin on this, although I think a proper mix would probably be able to sort us a bit out a bit, but I think it's the ones who helped sort of someone, maybe it's only a matter of time. Listen, there's a similar, might be China or something, it's so tinsely, it's bad. The rhythm guitar's very sludgy. I'd imagine maybe John Petrucci just started to plug in a Marshall in the studio or something. His lead tone is, obviously, let's put it out there, Petrucci, we had to back one guy to nail pristine guitar sounds. It's John Petrucci. The Images and Words has some of the best guitar sounds ever, and recent times on the last two Dream Theater albums, his guitar tone off his Mesa Boogies has just been beautiful. But on this, he's obviously, he's inexperienced, but they've been rushing, and, there's quite a lot of gain on his lead sound, but there's no clarity on the bottom end. So he's got quite a fat bottom, but it's not clear. So if you listen to the solo on Afterlife, he goes down a low note and you can hear it kind of fudging up, so to speak. Again, not Petrucci's fault, it's just it's difficult when, you're young and you're starting out with these things. And back then, if you don't get it right, you can't kind of, reamp stuff. You can't sort of use a plug-in or something, and there's not the tech that's reel to reel, you've got to nail it. So there's that issue that the bass, I've never felt John Mayung bass always sits totally well in Dream Theater. In all the busyness, he seems to get lost. I think Mayung's a technically great player, but sometimes I think the band would be better with someone who just played less, really. There's so much busyness with the drums and guitar and keyboards, if you had just a more of a straight ahead bass player, just filling in the gaps and holding down with a different space, that might, it might give it a different spin. I know people probably won't agree with that, but it's just my sort of take on things. But here, again, Mayung gets a bit lost. There's some cool fretless bit. You're turning away. Now I can't remember which track. I think it's Status Seeker. You get some nice lines, but again, the bottom's not balanced, the drums aren't balanced, too much tinsel, the guitar's sludgy. So the only thing that comes across well is Charlie Dominique is the vocal mix. It's obviously got reverb on there. It's 89, but you can hear him quite clearly, and that's actually processed well. Whether obviously a remix would remedy some of this, but it's the golden thing is like if the sound's not been committed at tape, and we should say this, you know, it's not going to a factor of Dream Theater's playing ability. Their playing ability would mean they can nail it down. It's just the actual sounds they've put down to tape or whatever's happened, and then it's gone to mix. And I imagine Terry Date's probably a bit fried, and it's just you can hear like the bits are kind of glued together and not positioned, you know, and interlocked properly. So that's my take on it. What would I mark this out of 10? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's definitely 5 really, really cool tracks on this. And I like Only a Matter of Time's pretty top. 6. You know, I think I'd give it an 8. For the songs, I'd give it an 8 out of 10. I think, you know, you probably knock a mark off for the mix. With Dream Theater, I mean, I love Images and Words. I don't listen to them much now, and I really liked Awake, although it's not as good as Images and Words. After that, I kind of, you know, I liked tracks by them, but I could never get into a whole album. I always liked this album. I would like to have heard it recorded better, but it's just one of those things. They did perform it all live when Derek Sherinian was in the band, I think, and that's interesting to hear that. But shame they can't get a hold of master tapes and maybe do something with it. Yeah, still interesting debut. Not an out-and-out classic, but classic band, important band, and everyone's got to start somewhere. And I think Dream Theater started pretty well, and the fact they got a great review and Kerrang kept going, Derek Oliver didn't forget them. Like, that's the thing with bands, just keep going. There you go. Right, remember, share and subscribe, and I'll see you soon for another classic album inspection. Thank you very much.